All right. So this is the debate. I'm not debating personally. I am moderating. So I might have to get up and leave here and there because personal stuff with my family. But
Understandable.
so yeah, just be respectful. We have just like a few rules, and that's be respectful, respect other people, and no like fallacies like straw man, ad hominem fallacies, stuff like that, and no religious texts as evidence and proof, because religion and politics just don't really mix very well.
Right.
So, yeah. Does anyone want to give an opening statement or start the debate off?
So originally, me and it's Sedona, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so originally me and Sedona had agreed on debating Trump just in general. And we both obviously have our sides of the story. So Sedona, if you want to do your opening statement, yeah.
Well, okay.
Or a question or whatever.
Well, I think that he has done more for the Black community and for the Hispanic community and for all races in general than some of the past presidents, like, recently have ever done.
Okay. So why, like, could you provide some, like why you think that?
Well, unemployment rates of them are just a lot better than how it has been.
Okay.
Corona, yeah.
So I guess we can go from there. So I think we all, if we've seen the unemployment rate, if we've seen like the trend of it, we can all tell that Trump was pretty much handed unemployment rates. And also, if we look at the unemployment rate right now, it's not doing too well. I think we all know that.
Well, yeah, because of Corona, there's a lot of people who are out of job. And, well, yes, it was going up when Obama left, but it went farther than what it was anticipated to do.
Fun fact, Obama created more jobs in his last 3 years than Trump did in his first 3.
And it's also kind of difficult to do in the middle of a pandemic.
So I'm not part of the debate, but I'm just asking everyone in here in general, going off of that, why do you think that the U.S. is number one in unemployment right now, number one in coronavirus cases, number one in coronavirus deaths, etc.? Alistair, we haven't heard from you yet, so I'm gonna take this one.
I think it can't solely only be Trump's fault. I genuinely think it's just neglect from Congress that they want to bring politics. This is obviously a bipartisan issue that we shouldn't have to. Excuse me. And they're trying to bring in politics. It's like, fuck. Sorry.
You're good.
I agree, bro. I agree.
Right. I agree with you.
It's like it shouldn't be a bipartisan issue.
It shouldn't be a bipartisan issue. Both parties should come to, and when they originally signed the original $2 trillion spending bill, I was like, this is a good job. Because whenever the other side does something good, I'll compliment on that. Because I'm not hard-headed. You know what I mean? Both sides, if we came together earlier, we would have not solved it completely, but we wouldn't be in a deep hole that we are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Wait, could you repeat that last part again? I didn't hear it.
I think that if we would have came together, if we came together earlier, that we wouldn't be as in and as deep hole as we are now.
Right.
So to speak.
We should have never politicized the virus. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. We shouldn't have politicized it in general because it's one of the first global pandemics in almost 100 years. So, and most of the leaders that I don't know.
Right. But I think it's what we're talking about now I guess it does have to do with the virus, but it has more to do with unemployment, I guess, because that's what we started off on. But yeah,
Yeah.
the unemployment aspect of the virus is political.
Of course.
So yeah, that's,
So, Maddie, what do you think caused the unemployment to be so bad during the coronavirus?
well, obviously because, people are on leave now because they don't want to get the virus, and there's so many jobs and businesses that are limiting their employees, of course. But yeah.
I think a lot of jobs aren't coming back, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I do think that after this, a lot of people aren't going to go back to work.
Yeah.
That I
I
do
feel
agree with.
like COVID, like it sped up automation, basically.
Yeah, it's going to it's going to change the world a lot more than we think it is.
Yeah. So,
Right.
like, companies are gonna, like, you think are gonna try to find any way that they can to limit contact with people?
Yes, I do think that they're going to try to find more autonomy, more things to do with like robots building stuff, and I don't know. I think they're going to over the next 2 years. I think there's going to be less and less people working for the big corporations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that like the entire economy is going to change a lot after this because it's virtually no way for the economy to go back to the way that it was or even close anytime soon. So,
And I feel like a lot of businesses, like, they realize they can save money having workers work at home instead of like in like a building.
Exactly.
mhm.
Yeah.
So it's no point of them coming back.
Yeah.
So, kind of staying on this topic, I'm gonna ask everyone this question, starting with Sedona, and then Alistair, Maddie, and then Martavius. How do you think Trump is still handling the coronavirus situation? Do you think it was good, bad? Does it need improving?
Well, he was trying to close the borders and the transportation box, but really the Democrats who told him that it would be a racist thing to do, which makes no sense. So I think he was trying his best, but he was being held back by a lot of people who didn't want that. And I think that giving like the states power to give themselves policy, I think that works well because there's some states that have like no cases, a ton.
So, sorry.
Go ahead, Bryce. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Democrats thought, like when they said it was racist, was like because he was just blocking it from China, and China was already getting better. Oh, sorry, Alistair's thing lagged out.
Yeah, sorry about that. My thing just lagged up.
You're good. But I think they said it was racist because he was just blocking China, even though China was getting better and there were places that were worse than China.
But yeah, on the same topic, you can look at him trying to give the states more freedom in order to control their own state, but you also have to look at it from the beginning. I mean, he called it a democratic hoax until like 2 months ago. And it's obvious that it's not a hoax. People are dying. People in his own administration are dying, so it's clearly not a hoax. I think that whole democratic is trying to, take over whatever was definitely just to push a political agenda. And if we're not going to make the coronavirus a political thing, then I don't understand how, how that works, how that balances out. But,
Well, when you support someone, you don't really have to support like every single ideal or every single thing they say.
I understand.
I never really personally believed it was this whole conspiracy, but I don't know.
I agree.
I agree with that. I think that you should be able to, no matter what like party you're in, you should be able to criticize the candidates in that party. It's like just because there's Republicans that don't support Trump, there's Democrats that don't support Biden. I think that's a good thing. Like, people should be able to criticize people in their own political party. They shouldn't have to feel trapped as like, oh, this guy's Republican, this guy's Democrat, I have to vote for him just because he's in my same party.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like there's one of the things wrong with American politics.
Wait,
Yeah,
The
what?
where you are.
two-party system.
Yeah, the two-party system. Yeah,
Oh.
basically. Like, if that
Yeah.
person is that party, you're forced to support them.
Sort of like, because like in the primaries, you cannot vote other than your designated party.
Right.
All right.
All right.
So, Han, you answered. Maddie answered. Martavius, did you have anything to add on how you think Trump handled the coronavirus situation?
I didn't say, I'm not gonna say he handled it terribly. He didn't. He could have done better, but like, he did. Knowing it's Trump, he did the best he would do. But I think he could have handled it better though.
I think it could have been handled a lot better in the beginning, and then a lot of our problems that we have right now could be better than they are if it were like taken care of and handled in the beginning as it should have been. But yeah, also I don't think that, you know, that he's like a horrible president. Well, that's debatable, but I don't think that his handling of the coronavirus has anything to do with my opinion on him. I mean, just a slight bit, but you know, I think it has more to do with his intelligence. I'm not saying he's not an intelligent person, even though that's also debatable, but you know.
Yeah. So, does anyone else have anything to add onto that? Like any specific questions, statements?
I think it's like, I think everyone was surprised that this got as bad as it got. This is the first worldwide pandemic since like 1919, 1920. I don't think, because most of the politicians now weren't alive when the last global pandemic happened, so I don't think they were really experienced to do stuff like this. So
Yeah.
Think about it. We didn't have no preparedness before that. This one thing I think could have been handled way better if we actually had like teams for this, like prepared for this way before. Yeah.
Well, we kind of did. The Obama administration had a pandemic response team added in his last year in office. He also had a pandemic response plan that was an entire like book on how to handle a pandemic if one ever arose.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trump, when Trump got in office, he started cutting and firing a lot of stuff. There's one reason why.
Sorry, what was that?
I said when Trump like first came into office, he cut it and like fired a lot of people off of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
To make the government, they say small government. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sedona, did you have any? Oh, sorry, Maddie, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
All right, I was just gonna ask if you had any specific topics that you wanted to bring up.
Probably the homophobic, all these transphobic things.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when they say trying to take away medical rights.
Wait, could you repeat that little thing? I didn't hear it.
Well, always bring up the point that he's trying to take away their health care and their right.
Well, he really didn't take away their health care. He forces them to he said they are forced to go to identify at the doctor as their birth gender. Yeah, they're basically. Yes.
Actually, health care a lot more safe for trans. I wouldn't say that whatsoever.
Sedona, you're breaking up really bad.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I think it's just your microphone. I think you might be too far away from the microphone or something.
It might be the internet. I don't know.
Oh, it's better now.
Yeah, it's better now that you got closer.
Oh, okay. Well, it's made healthcare a lot for trans people, such as there was this lady named Tyler who passed away because she wasn't given the proper medical care that she would have gotten because they didn't diagnose it as biological and birth gender.
So the story you're talking about is she passed away because they didn't know her biological sex?
Yeah, I'm not honest. I'm not completely sure what it was. I think I was told she was like pregnant or something. I'm not completely sure. I was told, but I know it definitely do with it.
But like, if her doctor was like her doctor or whatever gender they identified as, they would know that their biological sex. Like it's on your record.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, he probably didn't look at it because he admitted that he didn't know biological gender, and that's what Trump's trying to do, is to make sure every doctor knows their physical birth gender.
I believe every doctor should know. I don't think a person should be forced to identify it. That to be forced to identify it as a doctor, though. I believe the doctor should know the person's biological gender, what they were born as, though.
Well,
Yeah, I think doctors are able to differentiate biological sex from gender identity. Like if they're a doctor, like a licensed doctor, they should know the difference.
Right.
They would know the
so
difference.
do you know the name of this person of like the story you told?
Tyra
Sorry, what?
Hunter.
Okay. I'm trying to think if I've ever heard of that story because I think I've heard something like that, but I can't remember.
I don't think I've ever heard of that story.
No, I don't think I have either.
It wasn't really recent. I think it was in 2000.
Hmm.
So it's a recent.
So
story.
back then, they also had less like advanced, like they didn't know as much about transgenderism than they did now.
Right. So now that the LGBTQ community has increased a lot since, the 2000s because, I don't know, I actually don't know why that happened, but nonetheless, the LGBTQ community has expanded, and I'm not saying that everyone should conform their life to it, but you should at least acknowledge the I can't think of the word. But yeah, they should acknowledge the growth in the community and kind of adapt to it because they're etc.
Right.
Oh, Martavius, you're really cutting out, like it's completely frozen.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Matt, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Do you want to finish what you were saying real quick?
Oh, I was done.
Oh, okay. So, do you have any specific points that you want to bring up?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Not really. Okay, so to be honest, someone sent me Sedana's account. They sent me her account and they asked me to, talk to you. And there wasn't much of like your views on your account, so I kind of just went off of the hat and the profile picture, and I didn't really know the full extent of your views, so I can't really like bring up any points because I don't know where you stand specifically.
Well, it really depends. Because I can see both sides of every story for pretty much everything. Because I was raised by a liberal and democratic family, so it really depends on what it is.
Right. Okay. So why don't you, okay, if you would, just bring up maybe some points about, I guess since we're sticking to Trump, let's bring up some points about him that you disagree with the left about.
Well, I don't think he, for one, is homophobic, which I already stated, and I don't really think he's racist.
Mhm.
I
And
think what?
or sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I agree with most of the policies that he's put into place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not everything. I don't agree with everything that he says or does. But
Right.
Neither do I.
Cool. So you said, what did you say? You said he's not racist, right? So just like, what would you base, or do you think he's like in support of people of color or just like neutral?
what was the first one? I didn't know what you said.
Sorry. Like, do you think he's just neutral in when it comes to like people of color, or do you think he's in support of?
Well, I think he's for pretty much everybody,
Mhm.
but I think he's trying his best to help support all minorities. Really?
Just by the unemployment rate?
No, what was that?
The unemployment rate right now doesn't only affect minorities; it affects everyone. I don't
Correct, but that
think
was
that
brought up earlier. So I was just addressing that part. But yeah, you were saying something, Sedona.
And really, I think he's trying his best because what's happening, I don't think he's trying to increase like the opportunity. I think he's trying to decrease the discrimination and oppression. I think he's trying to increase.
He's trying to decrease oppression. Is what you're saying?
But he's not really focused on opportunity because there's a solid difference between the two.
So like what, just give me like one or two examples of something he's done to help the minorities or people of color.
Well, yeah, like you said, the unemployment rates, and he's put a lot of laws, not a lot. There's been some laws in place that's helped like amplify previous existing laws. I don't really
Such as?
I was about to say I can't think of the name at this time. To be completely honest, I cannot think of the name.
It's all good.
What was that thing that Joe Biden signed into law? Like it was like 34. It was like the prison reform, prison something.
The criminal justice reform.
And then Trump did something with it. I forgot what it was. He like that put like a lot of innocent minorities in prison, and Trump repealed that. I think. Yeah.
Okay, so the criminal justice reform bill was, I think it was in the
I think it was like the late 70s or early 80s.
I think it was like the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was 84. The criminal justice reform bill, and so wait, hold on. You're talking about the criminal justice reform, and what did Trump do for it?
It was something that they were saying that Joe Biden signed something that put a bunch of, I can't think of the name. It was something that Joe Biden signed that put like a bunch of innocent minorities and people in prison for like minor offenses, and then Trump repealed it. I forgot what the name of the bill was.
I'll look into that. I've never heard of that scenario, but I will look into it.
I could have, and I may be wrong. If I am, I apologize, but I could have sworn I heard something like that.
But he also put a lot of people who were in prison for things on death row, and he actually bragged about that a lot.
Who?
Joe Biden putting people on death row, which Democrats are usually against the death penalty.
Right, but wait, when did he do that?
It was at the same time when he was in favor. of the reform.
So
Because
he was in favor of the reform, but he put people on death row.
yeah, there was people going on death row. Like, they were basically
Wait, what did you say? I didn't hear that last part.
he was they what it was basically taking all the punishments that were not and just moving up.
Okay. So let me just reiterate what you're saying to make sure I am understanding what you're saying. So basically, you're saying that Donald Trump is in support of people of color and minorities because of the unemployment rate and the supposed repealing of a criminal justice bill. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, hon. So since Kay is gone and his Wi-Fi isn't working, do you want me to be the other person in the debate?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it.
All right. So about the unemployment rate part, the unemployment rate has been on a steady decline of about 10% every year for the past, 20 years?
2011.
10 years. All right. So at Obama's administration, it was the lowest it had ever been. And then in Trump's administration, it's the lowest it's ever been. So you really can't pick and choose. You can't say that one has done more for the unemployment rate than the other when it's been fixing itself.
And also, let me just add that the unemployment rate has nothing to do with race, or at least it was brought up during that conversation, because all unemployment has been going down since 2011. So, I mean, the unemployment claim is not really relevant when talking about minorities and people of color. Not that it has anything to do with what Bryce just said, but I just felt like I should add that on before we move on.
Well, yeah. But it's been declining a lot faster than it has been.
It actually hasn't. It's been honest.
Obviously.
Well, it's been a steady decline since 2011.
Yeah, I mean, when you say 10%, that's about the average. Some years are better than some years. I mean, one year might be 10%, the other year might be jump up to 20%. You don't know. It's one of those things that aren't linear. So you can't say that one specific president has done that single-handedly better than anyone else.
Yeah, and I feel like I was going to add that. So Trump is not responsible for the entirety of COVID-19, but he is responsible for the unemployment rate. At least that's what it sounds like. And I'm not implying that you said anything like that, but that's what it seems like you're implying.
Me?
No, Sedona.
For when he can't really do much for every little business in America.
Yeah, but you could do less for the big businesses that already have trillions of dollars.
Correct.
Yeah, but those people, there's still people who work for those companies.
But he wasn't giving them to the individual people. He was giving them to the companies and CEOs themselves.
Yeah, which eventually got distributed. It may not have been as much as he initially gave them, but still.
That's a really big misconception on why Democrats didn't sign the first stimulus bill. They say it was because, of course, they hated the population. They wanted it to be their own. But it's because it was going to be the largest corporate bailout in all of American history. And that's really why they didn't sign it, was because it wasn't going to the people. It wasn't for the people. It was for the businesses. Some of the biggest bailouts went to businesses that Trump had large stockholds in. And I mean, it's really impossible to not see a correlation there that Trump was giving the biggest cuts to companies that he had some of the largest stockholds in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to think of it ethically from his point of view. I mean, if they support you, I wouldn't.
But that is not in benefit of the American people.
Yeah, no, that's really extremely selfish, seeing how the man has like 3 different businesses and makes millions of dollars every week.
Based from personal businesses also. He gets money from those on the daily. Even though, as the President of the United States, you're technically not allowed to get personal gain from your businesses, but he does anyway. So, if we're going to talk about people and selfishness, I guess we should include that.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was awkward. So do you have anything to add on to what me and Bryce just said?
Not really. I think
Yeah.
my still stand by mine.
Well, hold on, Alistair, what did you say?
I don't have anything to add.
Do you have any specific points that you want to bring up and maybe debate us on?
Not entirely. I do think that, yeah, not really, nothing really specific.
So if you don't mind, I'm still kind of unclear about what, I mean, I've heard it a couple of times, but I'm still unclear about the advantages you think there is of Trump being president for another 4 years, or, the benefits of what he's done in the past 4 years. So I'm still kind of unclear on that, but I mean, we went over a couple of things, just 2 things, but to support him, there's probably more than that. So I was just, questioning those.
Well, even if he gets reelected, even if he, for God knows what reason, would just do nothing and just.
Han, you cut out.
What? Again? Even if he was at a steady, like, neutral and didn't do anything, it would be better than Joe Biden coming in and.
What gives you
that idea?
Yeah, what gives you that idea?
For which part?
That it would be bad for Joe Biden to take office and it would be better for Trump
to just do nothing.
Well, even if he did do nothing, like, because Joe Biden wants to do a lot of things that I think he chose points that he knew would sound good on paper, but when you get into it, it really wouldn't.
Well, everyone pretty much that's come on, that's been on stage or been on screen has played identity politics. There's no way in this day and age to not play identity politics. So yeah, you're obviously going to pick things that appeal to people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if you don't play identity politics at all, that you lose, because there's every politician that has run, any politician that. There's almost every politician that's ever existed has done something like that. They've made promises that they had never kept on both sides, not just one side, but both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, it's kind of strange because, hold on, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so identity politics is, so you're saying it's not okay when Joe Biden does it, but when Trump has selfish reasoning for personal gain from, America, it's fine.
Well, okay. Joe Biden, what I was going towards was he's promising things that couldn't really possibly be done, such as completely getting rid of guns, which is a policy that he's in support of.
That's no, it's not.
It
no.
Is.
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
I do think that too. I don't think that's. I don't think he's in.
That's a very far stretch.
Yeah, no. Even Bernie Sanders has never said that, and he's even further left than Biden. Biden himself, he has come out and he said that he strongly, strongly backs reform for the Second Amendment, that he wants there to be common sense gun laws, and he wants there to be more background checks, make sure that you know how to use a gun before you buy a gun, that you don't just walk into a gun show and
just walk
buy
out.
an AR-15. And I think another thing that he wants is there to not be the sale of AR-15s and fully automatic weapons.
But didn't they already ban the manufacturing of fully automatic weapons in like '86?
Yeah.
Nope.
They allowed sales, but I don't. They're not allowing the companies to make anymore, but they're still allowing the ones that already existed to float around.
No, I think Smith & Wesson still makes fully automatic weapons.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's that they banned and maybe Smith & Wesson does, but I don't think not in the U.S. because they banned the sale of they banned the sale of fully automatic weapons, but no, they banned the manufacturing of fully automatic weapons, but they allowed the ones that already existed in the country to float around.
I don't know what, or sorry, I do know what you're talking about. I know they did ban them for a short while in the 80s, but they whatchamacallit,
Unbanned them.
like unbanned them. I remember what you're
I didn't
talking
hear that. I've never heard of that. I've
Yeah.
never heard of a bill like that.
Also, about Joe Biden wanting to ban guns.
Yeah, that's
Trump has actually passed more gun regulation than Obama had in his 8 years, and Trump has passed more in his first 3 years than Obama did in his first 8.
Mhm.
Right.
So the Joe Biden gun argument is kind of it's what you're saying is definitely a stretch.
Yeah.
Wait, are you talking? Because if you are, I can't hear you.
I'm not. I haven't.
So, yeah.
So, do you believe that gender is biological? It's a totally different topic. Sorry.
Moving on.
Well, personally, for me, I think that you should be able, if you want to change your gender, you can. I just think you have to choose between male and female. I don't think you could be like non-binary or fluid or anything. I think you have to like.
But okay, so maybe let's use terms. So gender, we obviously know that gender is societal. It's not biological. Sex.
Yeah.
Biological sex is it's biological. It's science. But gender is not science whatsoever. It's just social norm.
It's whatever you feel in your brain. So if you don't feel a strong connection to one or the other, you don't really.
You can identify as whatever you want. Like I can identify as a paintbrush if I wanted to, but it's not going to change my biological sex. And I think everyone
identify as an A10 warthog.
That's wonderful.
If that makes you happy, then why not? I mean,
exactly. I think that if you don't feel comfortable in your own body, that you should be able to change that. I support that, but me myself, I'm straight, but what's the thing called when you supported ally? I'm an ally. Like, thank you. I'm an ally. Like I'm not a part of it, but I'll still support it. I remember something happened.
I think that's all that the community wants. I mean, I'm not going to speak for the LGBTQ community because I'm not a part of it, but I think that that's all they're looking for technically is just people. I mean, it's fine if you don't want to be a part of it, but there's no reason to stop people from wanting to live their own lives and control their own bodies. There's no reason for that.
I agree.
So, Sedona, could you reiterate your point on gender identity or what you were saying before?
Well, I think what is there 70 something genders?
There's infinite, technically.
Yeah, I think way too many. I think it should just be male or female, and you get to choose which one.
But okay, so say I wanted to identify as said paintbrush, correct? Why shouldn't I be able to do that?
Because it gets to a point where it's kind of ridiculous. Maybe
Han, you're breaking up again. I'm sorry.
Again?
Okay, now try again.
Okay, I can kind of understand why, like, gender fluid and now I'm binary, but it just gets to the point where it's multiple things mean the exact same thing, and it just doesn't.
Well, you're cisgender, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then why does someone identifying as whatever they want affect you?
Well, it doesn't affect me personally. I really don't care. Like, even if I agree with being like
Hold on, you're breaking up.
demi feminine or something. I don't know. Even if you identify with that, I'm still gonna respect it, even if I don't agree with it. Like, if I was like the president, I wouldn't put any laws against it.
Well, that's a good thing. But there's,
Oh, wait, hold on.
People.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
I would never take like my personal opinions and purposely try to make someone's life worse or trying to take away what they believe in.
That's wonderful.
So
But the point is that you inherently believe that having infinite gender or not, conforming to gender at all is ridiculous, or that there's too many genders or whatever you were.
Okay, so on Honey Barbecue Wings 11 is saying that because you're not an effing paintbrush, you're a human, male or female, that's it.
Yeah, biological sex. There's male
Yeah,
and female.
that's
But there's also-
biological. That's XYXX chromosomes.
But
That's
technically, also, if we're going to go back to biological sex, there's proven to be more than two, because biological sex is your chromosomal. I think that's how you say it, chromosomal makeup. XXY, etc. And there's more than two of those. So there's more than two chromosomal makeups. So
there's at least four. There's XX, XXY, XYY, or XYY,
And then
XXYY,
XYX.
XYX.
well, there's only two genders argument. It's so invalid. It's not even funny.
Because it's whatever. Because gender is what's in your brain. It's what not like that's the saying that's always gone around. Is gender is what's in your brain, not what's in your pants.
Right.
And it's whatever you strongly feel connected to, whatever you feel,
Whatever you
whatever
feel
makes you
comfortable
happy.
with.
So,
Yeah.
like, if, say, Maddie strongly, like, she believed in her heart that she was a paintbrush, and if that's what made her happy,
Be a
wow.
paintbrush.
Be a paintbrush.
Be a paintbrush.
Yeah, be a paintbrush.
It's your body. You decide what you do with it.
Wait, Honey Barbecue. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the YouTube. Honey Barbecue Wings 11 is talking about beta males. Doesn't matter. You could still modify it. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's when we were
I think-
talking about guns, and he said it didn't matter, you could still.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. But yeah, Honey Barbecue Wings. I hope we address your point well enough.
Yeah.
okay, it's dumb. My lighting is going all over the place. I'm trying to fix it, but it's not working. Oh,
You're good.
myself.
All good.
Yeah, you're fine.
All right.
So yeah, so what was the initial point that was brought up that created this? I don't remember.
Oh, I was just asking what her stance on, like, gender identity was.
We switched up the
Yeah, I
thing.
switched. I really smooth transition. Let me tell you.
You went from Trump to gender identity
to paintbrush identity.
to paintbrush.
The paintbrushes, yeah.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? I don't remember. Oh yes, this is also just again straight out of the topic, but so I guess Alistair and Sedona, since you're partners, I'm gonna ask you the same question. Do you think that Donald Trump is a constitutionalist, or do you think that is one of the advantages of voting him into presidency again, is that he's following the Constitution, or do you not agree with the Constitution?
I do think there's some parts of the Constitution that need to be. There's some parts that are good, and I do think that there's some parts that need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he supports the parts that some of the parts that need to be fixed and some of the parts that can stay the way that it is.
Mm-hmm. And Sedona?
Yeah, well, for me, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. For some of them, I should believe it.
Wait, you just cut out for like a good 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening, but it's pretty much the same for me. The ones that I do really have an opinion on, I have a strong opinion on. So that's
Okay, cool. Because a lot of I don't know what your stance is completely, but a lot of Trump supporters like to say that him being a constitutionalist is an advantage. But so I just wanted to clear that up.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Believe it.
So yeah.
Honey Barbecue Wings 11 said, so for less than 1% of the people, that whole country has to change their language. That's Marxism. What?
What?
that has like nothing to do with what
No one said anything about.
We were
like,
talking about like
Marxism.
we were talking about like the Constitution, not Marxism.
Honey Barbecue Wings is all over the place.
It's like me, just like switching from Trump to gender. talking about the Constitution, now going to Marxism. Like, wow.
Wait, Martavius said he's back.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if it'll show.
I hate to do it, but I have to go in like 15 minutes. So
I know,
just
dude.
letting you know.
Yeah.
Not I can stay for like another 15 minutes, but then I have to go do something.
You're good.
All right, there's Martavius.
Alrighty.
I'm back.
Hey, you're back.
What's up?
You missed from when he went from Trump to paintbrushes.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was wonderful. But yeah,
That was amazing.
I think Honey Barbecue Wings doesn't have anything valid to say, so I think I'm just gonna skip on from that.
Yeah, I think we should just ignore him.
But since I start debates, I like to finish them, so I guess we can just move on to something else.
Yeah. I guess
Um,
this is going to be the final topic since
Yeah.
we're coming up on an hour and Alistair has to leave in
15.
Yeah.
So let me just bring up a completely new topic because I want to finish this debate. So Sedona, based on your account on Instagram, at least by what I've seen, it seems that you avidly support the police system or something along those lines. Could you elaborate?
Well, when people use ACAB, I know that they don't mean all cops are bad. It's all cops are like bastards or bastardized because they work for a racist system.
Yeah.
But I don't think, because people are trying to defund the police and whatever, which that makes no sense to me. Because they're trying to put like mental health people on the line. Some people, not all of them.
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
And people are generalize cops with the but I bring that is why
Hold on, you're breaking up like really bad. Hold on.
Yeah.
Mike. I don't know. But the point that I always bring up for them is why would you generalize cops for the few bad cops who have killed people when you can there's a difference between people protesting saying
You're breaking up again.
I get the point. I'm just gonna address it because I heard most of it.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Bryce, go ahead.
So, using that point, why would you generalize all of Black Lives Matter supporters over a few bad ones who did bad things such as throwing bricks at people, looting, rioting, stuff like that? Why would you... Oh, wow, now we have someone using F slurs. You're a bunch of socialists, and I hope you go protest and G. Kyle F's your asses up. Facts.
I'm sorry, what?
Guys all over the place.
Wait, where did you see that?
That's what Honey Barbecue Wings said.
Oh, God.
Honey Barbecue Wings is more over the place than... Again.
Well, I never said that I was a socialist nor a Marxist. I don't know where he's getting that from.
None of us did. But let's just.
Let's just keep on
just
topic.
ignore him. Just ignore him.
Yeah.
But to kind of go off what Bryce is saying, like I don't think that all Black Lives Matter protesters are bad. It's their right to go out and protest. But I think they're not all bad, but there are some bad ones. Same thing with cops. They're not all bad, but there are some bad ones.
Right. But the thing about generalizing in these two situations is that generalizing a group of protesters and picking out rioters and looters is a completely different situation than ACAB or, generalizing the policemen, which is not at all what's happening when ACAB is used. That's not a generalization of the people. It's that each cop is complacent in a system that is obviously corrupt. And that's not a generalization per se, but it's like saying, let's say that you play lacrosse and you are on a losing team, like your team always loses. You, by definition, are a loser. You might not be a loser as a person when you're off the field, but you are a loser technically. So I don't think that generalizing in these two situations are similar whatsoever.
I think it's bad just to generalize any group of people, whether it's cops, protesters, or anybody. Not even just these two groups. I think it's just bad to generalize a group of people just the actions of a few people.
Well, yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
I agree.
I don't agree with generalization in politics at all.
And I do agree. I do think the policing system, like, I don't think cops should be able to, like, 'cause what these cops do sometimes, they'll like go to like they'll buy, like, essentially these police departments purchase like these military vehicles, and I don't think that like police departments should be able to do this. They're supposed to racist. They're supposed to police, not something.
Terrorize.
Thank you. And I think they.
Yeah, I agree. The police system is way too militarized, as is, and it's just getting worse.
Right.
But I'm pretty much just going off of what Donna said about generalizing. That's what I was like bringing the whole point up of. So, Donna, do you have like something to counter say?
Well, yeah, I don't. You shouldn't. Yeah, but like.
Hold on. 1 second. You're breaking up.
Yeah, no, we can't hear you. It's just like completely quiet.
It's just like static.
Try muting and then unmuting.
Okay.
Or leaving and joining back again, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll probably work.
Oh, there she goes.
Well, okay then.
Yeah. No, she still has the link, so she can join back.
Uh-oh, Honey Barbecue Wings is deleting messages.
No, I put them in timeout.
Oh.
They're being a little naughty.
A little nasty.
Bryce, you said you were live streaming. Bryce, you said you were live streaming this on YouTube, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on our YouTube channel, so it'll be up after I end.
Okay. What do you mind telling me the name? Because I want to watch it afterwards.
It's in the link of our TikTok account. Yeah, I can send it to you in the group chat.
All right.
I think all of our social medias are the same. I'm pretty sure.
I think we only have TikTok and YouTube.
But yeah, they're both just anti-Trump hype house.
Yeah. All right.
Welcome back.
Sedona, try and talk.
Can you hear me now? I don't know.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh no. We're on the topic of
generalizing
people and.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You're all good.
Okay. So when they say all cops bastardize because they work for a racist system, pretty much implying that they're also racist since they work for the system. So I think that could be betterly worded.
Well, ACAB has like when someone says ACAB or uses it, it has no racist implications in it.
ACAB. they all got because they were.
Well, bastardized doesn't mean racist, it means corrupt. And it's corrupt in more than just a way of race.
Well, I really don't. I think that there are some racist cops. I think there's racist people. I don't really think that changing the entire system less racist.
Well, how do you suggest that police reform is made if it's not reforming the system?
They don't know it.
You're breaking up.
Can you say that again?
Do you have somewhere else with like better internet, maybe?
I don't really. Okay, we're going to.
Okay.
But yeah, so like,
While she does that, I'm just going to reiterate what I said.
Okay.
Because I forgot what I said. But what did I say? Oh, yeah. The bastardized ACAB, if we're still on that, bastardized doesn't mean racist, and it means corrupt. And when corrupt is used, it doesn't just mean calling cops racist. That's not the whole point.
Yeah, because like I was talking today about it as well. There was, I think it's like hairdressers have to go through, like if you're going by hours, they have to go through 3 times the amount of training than a cop does to be able to wield a gun and go out and basically.
I think there should be more training for cops. Like, I remember there's an IQ limit. Like, if you want to be a cop, your IQ can't be above like I think it's 140.
140, I think.
140. Like,
Oh gosh.
there is definitely some things about like the cop training system and the policing system in general that do need to be fixed.
But like this
Yeah,
is why I agree with defunding the police, because when you take away those funds that are for equipment and militarization, when you take those and put those somewhere else, a path of like, okay, so wait, hold on, what was I saying? So they're militarized, it's obvious. And if you take that funding away from that equipment and those things that make it militarized, the path of violence is bound to lessen. And like when you put that money into things that can prevent crime to begin with, that is how how reform and how brutality is ended.
Also, something about defunding the police that a lot of people don't get. They think that defund the police means take all the funds away from the police. We don't fund them at all. And mainly what people fight for when they say that is taking away funding from the over 80% of training that goes towards how to hold a firearm and putting it towards into like communities into training that they actually need. Because you don't need 80% of your training going towards how to shoot someone or where to shoot someone fatally and how to hold a gun.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like, my grandfather was an ex-cop, was an ex-state trooper in upstate New York, and they said the first thing they taught him was how to properly kill someone if they're doing it. And I do think that's not right.
Yeah,
Well,
my cop.
I do think they need to focus on. I do think there still should be firearm training. I don't think 80% of the training should be dedicated to.
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
well,
My
and
dad
cops
was
are
a cop
trained
for 13. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
they're trained to shoot to kill. Like you're not shooting to injure someone, you're shooting to kill them. So I think that training with a firearm shouldn't be so extensive because you shouldn't be trained to kill people. Technically.
No.
I mean, if
I
we're
think
looking
that the only time that a cop has the right to kill someone is that either the person has shot. I think there's only really once the person has like shot at them first. Like if
if
they
that
like
if that person it poses a threat to the people around them or themselves, I don't think that's an issue to kill. I think that's an issue to, of course, detain them by not any means possible, of course, because I just don't advocate. Sorry, I just don't advocate for the killing of people who are being detained.
Well, I think that there are very few circumstances that, like, if I'm trying to think, if there's someone with a fully automatic weapon, they're standing outside of a courthouse and just opening fire on crowds,
Yeah,
I mean,
then the cops really then you're not just gonna walk up to someone with handcuffs. Then you really don't have any other option for that.
yeah, that's out of reach of a taser. That's out of reach from pepper spray. There's very certain circumstances where I support it, and because my dad was a cop for 13 years, so I know a lot of stuff
Right.
behind that.
Who's
When
gone?
they Maddie's
Sorry, I'm back.
hello, you're back. Oh, you there? Yeah, she's there.
Okay, what just happened? I missed it.
I was just saying that I believe that there are very few circumstances where it's actually needed to use deadly force. I mean, if you look, sorry, go ahead.
I do agree with that. I do think there are circumstances where it is necessary, but there's not a list of like George Floyd didn't deserve to die. Who was the guy that got shot? The guy that got shot just like a few days ago.
Jacob Blake.
Jacob,
Yeah.
thank you. I don't think he deserved that. I do think that there are situations where it's necessary, but I don't think these most recent situations that it was necessary.
Right.
Because-
And
Oh,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's most apparent that there's a violence issue going on because, for example, EMTs and firefighters, they get weapons pulled on them all the time, but they're not out there killing people, and they end up
Exactly.
just. So I
Fine.
don't see how someone could ignore the violence and the brutality issue that's going on. I don't understand how someone could just turn a blind eye to it because it's so obvious.
Yeah,
I agree. I do think that there's a
and if you say you look at the UK, their police force is not nearly as militarized as we are. The most deadly thing that they probably have on them is a taser. And they only use that in like extreme circumstances if like someone's charging at them, and they can, of course, use the taser. They have, I think, like specific like SWAT teams that have weapons that are only called in like extreme circumstances.
Right. I did see that. I do like other countries, like I think it was the UK, and I think Ireland did it too. Like where their normal police don't even have handguns, to where like unless like there's a big situation like a big robbery or something. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
A big like robbery or something
Mhm.
that they call in like SWAT, I guess, is their versions of like SWAT teams to deal with these situations that have these weapons.
Yeah, because I mean, coming from me, I'm a person with anxiety and panic disorder. When I'm sitting at a restaurant and I see a table full of police officers with guns like right on their waist, that kind of makes me anxious because I mean, there's someone sitting across from you with open guns, and that's
Yeah, I think it's like it depends. I don't know. Like
Okay.
I'm kind of like
So-
on edge. You
Yeah.
can go, Maddie.
I-
I don't know why I said Sophia.
The issue that I see is one, the brutality issue, but also there's so much instilling into these police officers that the only way that you can get people to do what you want is to instill fear in them. And that certainly should not be the basis of your job, is to scare people into doing what you want.
yeah.
Donna, you've been very quiet. Do you have anything to say?
Watching. Oh well, if you since you don't agree with the getting people or scaring people into doing what you want, how would you recommend doing it?
Well, how do you think EMTs and first responders do it? They go through so much de-escalation training because that's their job. Their job is to de-escalate situations. Their job is to keep everyone calm.
Wait, what did she ask? Everyone here.
Sorry, what?
What did Sedona ask? I didn't hear the question.
She asked, like, if you don't use fear tactics, then how would you de-escalate a situation?
Oh, well, in the police officer oath, it's that they're there to protect people. They're not there to like instill violence or fear or anything like that. And like Bryce said, EMTs and firefighters, they don't kill people and they're not killed, even though that they're going into a situation that's what a police officer would do also.
Right.
Like firemen and police officers usually come together in certain situations, and you never see violence or anything like that from firefighters and EMTs. There's just so much de-escalation, and I think the abuse of power in the police system is what also contributes to the fear tactic being not what it should be.
Well, okay. Going back to what he said, when he isn't like knowing that they have like a gun with them at all times, I personally believe they should, just in case, they should always have on them.
Yeah,
'Cause-
I agree.
Well, so in my father's 13 years of law experience, he was a police officer. I think he said he only had to draw his gun on a person a handful of times. And one of those was like a person, and they threatened to go kill the manager of a mall. And they showed up that night. They actually were going to the mall, and they had a gun with them. And that was one instance. But he never ended up shooting someone. So I mean, but then when you see the other people that pull their gun routinely on people to instill fear on them, like with George Floyd, let's take that for example. Counterfeit $20 bill, and the cop came to his car with his gun drawn. I mean, that's not a situation where you would use a gun. I mean, you walk up to a car, you say, "Hello, sir, we got a call that you might have used a counterfeit $20 bill or something like that." You wouldn't go like, "Step out of the car right now."
Yeah, I agree. I do think that there should be more training with like to use like I think there should be training to where the using the gun is like using the handgun is like one of the last resorts.
Yes, yeah, like common sense gun training.
And personally, just in my opinion, about the George Floyd situation, I think that if that police officer, Derek Chauvin, if he hadn't drawn his gun and instilled fear into George on arrival, I don't think that entire situation would have happened at all. I think it could have been completely avoided if the cop had taken de-escalation training and used it.
And George Floyd even had said he suffered from anxiety, and that's one of the reasons that he had pot and like smoked pot was because he was anxious. He had anxiety, and it helped him calm down. And the other drugs like fentanyl and stuff like that, they assume the weed was probably laced, and because it was such a tiny amount that it wasn't enough to like do any damage to him. And then a lot of people turn that on the head and say like, "Oh, he had so many drugs in his system, that's what killed him. He went into cardiac arrest because he was overdosed." But yeah. So
Yeah, and then that entire situation just could have been avoided and I'm not saying George didn't have any part in what happened, but I think it could have been avoided if the police had just done their job.
Yeah. So do you think we should give closing statements? Because
yeah.
I think Alistair has to leave in a minute.
Yeah, I have to leave in a few minutes. So
all right. So yeah, we can do closing statements.
Alrighty. So Alistair, you want to go first so you can leave?
Yeah, I think that the police, funds need to be moved around. I don't think we should obviously take all their funding away because then hell would break loose. So I think that you should be able to criticize people within your own party. I do think that Trump has his pros and cons, and we shouldn't politicize a global pandemic.
Yeah.
All
Awesome.
agreeable points.
Yeah, definitely. Martavius, are you there?
I'm gonna take that as a no.
Maddie, you want to go?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So if you guys would be open to it, I'm sure we could continue this debate because there's still so much unsaid. But I guess just the basis of what we've gone over so far, my opinions are still intact. My thoughts on the police and Donald Trump are still intact. But I just want to leave by saying that I think sometimes, especially nowadays, there's too much of like this or that, you know? And I don't think that everything has to be so black and white.
Yeah.
Right.
Donna?
Oh Lord, I'm not good at these.
Oh, you're good.
Um,
It can be
Yeah.
something simple. It
not
doesn't have to be.
I cannot do. Well, I think that, you know,
You're
I
good.
still
You can
think
take your
Donald
time.
Trump has done an amazing job as president, and I still have the same thoughts as she does. Has the same opinions, and yeah, you can identify as whatever you want. I don't care.
Wonderful.
All right.
That's it.
So I'll give mine, and I guess we can call this it after. So yeah, I think that, like Alistair said, we really need to stop politicizing everything. We don't need to politicize a pandemic. We don't need to politicize wearing a mask. We don't need to politicize an innocent person's death. It doesn't need to be that way. Nothing, or not nothing. Not everything needs to be a bipartisan issue. And I mean, admittedly, the Trump administration has done some good things. Of course, I don't agree with Trump, but yeah, such as like Melania. I actually watched her speech last night at the Republican National Convention, and she actually did give a pretty good speech. She addressed the coronavirus. She addressed racial inequality and racism, and she did amazing. In my opinion, that was like the best speech.
I didn't get to see it though. I'm probably gonna watch it later.
Oh yeah, you really should. I actually recommend it. But yeah, I think everyone needs to have an open mind when it comes to things and just respect other people's opinions.
I agree.
Yeah,
My views are consistently changing. Like you know the political compass test, right? I assume
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what it is. I take that almost weekly, and it keeps moving. Like once when I first started really getting into politics, I was left, and then it just keeps slowly moving, then up, and it just keeps going wonk everywhere. Because I read a lot. I like to read both sides. I don't just read Fox, or I don't just read CNN. I like to get news stations news views from both sides.
And cool. I know you guys have to go, but for the live stream, I just wanted to elaborate on my closing statement because I didn't elaborate enough on my points. But so, oh, and now I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so the Trump administration, I definitely think in this instance there's more cons than there are pros, especially in my opinion. And I think it's time for a change personally. And I am not a biased person. I don't consider myself a biased person, but I definitely think it's time for change. And I'm not really a Democrat or a Republican, but in this sense, I am a Democrat. I go more by candidate than party, but I forgot what I was going to additionally say, but yeah, I guess I'll close it off with that.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you, everyone. This was a really great debate. Everyone was super respectful, and if we want to make a part 2 kind of follow up to this, I definitely know, or we could probably set that up.
I'm totally down to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
It was nice talking to you guys.